Hey, what is going on, everybody? Welcome to the Super Lunch Bros Podcast, episode number 91. I am Brendan. All right, this is going to be short. There was obviously no UFC. We can go over some of the news, but mainly this one is just to do the Cobra Kai Season 3 review. And we're going to I might do a prediction for Season 4. So I have not watched a preview. I do not watch previews for things that I am going to see. I feel like it's... Why run the risk of spoiling something? You know, when someone creates a movie or TV show, any sort of art, right? And they make it so that when you watch, see, or hear it, that your experience is like what they want, you know, like a good one, a terrifying one, whatever, right? And like they're designing it to encapsulate what they want to get across in the time frame that they get it across in, right? So everything in that movie, from their point of view, right, the editors and the directors and everybody who has the final say on the final cut, leaves all that in there because they want you to see it. If you see some of those things before you go to the movie, I feel like it only can spoil it for you, right? Even if it's something innocuous, a small scene that means almost nothing in the greater storyline or anything else in that movie or TV show, it only can spoil your experience. Now, I will watch ads and previews for things that I wasn't necessarily interested in, because that is the reason for them, okay? So they are to get you interested in the movie or the TV show and come and watch it because you want to see whatever you saw a preview of, right? So I'm not saying that they shouldn't exist. No, I understand why they exist. They're advertisements, and they need to exist to get people to be interested in something that they weren't necessarily interested to begin with. But for someone like me or someone like you who's watching the show regularly or has watched it regularly, there's no reason to watch those previews unless you just can't wait and you just want to see something from it and like you want to get even more amped up for yourself. But for me, it just spoils something, and there's no reason to spoil it for myself. Okay, with that little rant out of the way, if you like talking about MMA, if you like hearing about MMA, if you like the UFC, watching the UFC, like I talk about all those things. We review movies and TV shows. Sometimes this one is more unique because Cobra Kai Season 4 is coming out in 2 days, 3 days, depending on when you hear this. It will be coming out at the end of December 2021. So I am very excited for that, and I wanted to go through all 3 of these seasons, watch them all, and I figure I might as well do a little review or a little recap after every single season, kind of how I feel about it. So please like and subscribe, all that good stuff. All right, let's get into it. So this season starts with it's called Aftermath, and that's a good name for that episode. So it's the aftermath of the school fight where Miguel's back was broken, okay, and you know, he's still in a coma and he's fighting in his dream, and it's pretty cool. It's symbolic of what's actually going on. You see that Johnny has kind of reverted back to being a drunk and not wanting to do anything, but he clearly has changed as a person, and it's shown very early on that he does care for people and he's not a scumbag. In this season, we get the recap or retelling of John Crease. Oh, by the way, I'm going to spoil the hell out of this season. If you haven't seen it, please watch Season 3. Okay? John Crease, we find out, how he went to Vietnam. We see that, he was kind of a little bit bullied. But it's a little different because when he is bullied, he can fight back and he beats the shit out of the people who are trying to bully him. And he's like, I've been fighting my whole life. So, yes, you feel bad for him in his situation because he's been made fun of and, his mom took her own life, and that's, weighed on him and put him in a situation where at the time he's made fun of and all those other things. And so he finds the military and he goes over to Vietnam. He wants to make a difference. He ends up in a situation where he gets invited to the special task force team thing. His girlfriend at the time passes away when he's over there, and it's like she ran her car into it doesn't matter how she passed away. She was only in the show for 30 seconds, 40 seconds. So they're fighting they're in this POW camp, and the wardens of the camp are making the prisoners fight each other on this beam that's over a pit full of snakes, right? So more symbolism, the Cobra and all that other stuff with Cobra Kai. And in the end, he takes the place of someone who didn't want to go. He fights the guy who was teaching him, who's kind of a scumbag. And right at the end of the fight, they're being rescued, and he still lets his captain or commander, whatever, fall into the pit. So very early on, I understand that they're trying to get across, like, hey, this guy was bullied, he had a hard life, and that's how he turned out the way he did. And I understand that there is some sympathy for that, but just the amount of pain, anguish, and hurt, he's just a scumbag, a total scumbag. At one point, he sends his students over to Danny's house. That's actually the last episode of the season. He sends his students over there to beat up the students over there. Miyagi-Do and Johnny Lawrence starts a new one, like a new dojo, but it's not a dojo. I was going to say like group, because it's not really a dojo. He's out in the park because it's free, and they're called Eagle Fang, and it's hilarious because eagles don't have fangs. So he starts that whole thing. It's hilarious. It's fun. It's much better than... Okay, before I get more in depth here, I'm just going to say season 3 is my favorite one. I felt it had the tightest writing. I feel like the storylines really mattered in this one, and because it focused so much on Johnny and Danny and less on the kids, right? It still has a lot of what's going on between the kids, but they aren't carrying the dramatic and what's that word? Thematic load, whatever. They're not carrying the narrative load. That's what I was going to say. It's really coming from Johnny and Danny, and they're what's her name? The girl, the mutual girlfriend that they had comes back at the end, Allie, right? She comes back, and you figure that Johnny is going to go off with her and kind of screw up his whole thing with Miguel's mom, because they get back together, because he's been working with Miguel. Obviously, they weren't going to leave him paralyzed. That's just not how it goes. You're not going to take like the main character, the main, male character, child character, and make him paralyzed for the rest of the series or write him off. So he obviously, gets his legs back, and it's awesome. He's working really hard. I think it's done relatively well. Obviously, there's still some cheesiness, which I don't mind, because that's kind of part and parcel for the Karate Kid mythos. It's very cheesy, very 80s. So I don't mind any of that. And then Johnny gets back with Miguel's mother, and they hit it off again, and that's very near the tail end of the season. And then Allie comes back, and you figure, oh, Johnny's going to go after Allie, and he sees Danny talking to Allie. It's like a whole mess again, and it's trying to dig up the stuff, but then Allie kind of puts them both straight and gets them to realize that they have more in common than they think, right? She plays the straight man in this part, which is good. And then Johnny, I like that they did this, right? They could have played this for a cheap story and plot point to where Johnny goes after Allie, or there's someone sees them together, and then they tell Miguel's mother, and Miguel's mother wants nothing to do, and then he has to play back. They could have played that way, and I think it would have been really cheap. I think they've gone to that well too many times already, especially with the children. In this season, I think this is the best season with Robbie, because he goes to juvie. Initially he's on the run, and that's why I love this season, is because Danny and Johnny are working together trying to find Robbie. They have a fun fight. They beat the crap out of these guys running a chop shop. They're working together. They find out that, they like some things about each other, but they still don't get along, blah, 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 all that stuff. But it's really fun. The way they play off each other is really good. The fight scenes are probably not the best in the series as far as early on in the season goes, but they're not bad. And then later on, Robbie ends up going inside of the institution. John Crease comes and talks to Robbie, And then he tries to get him. He's like, oh, you need to strike first. And then he fights with these bullies in the juvie, right? And he eventually gets out, and then he goes and joins Cobra Kai, and it culminates in the end scene where Johnny goes to Cobra Kai because he finds, that's okay. So when John Crease sends everybody over to go beat up the other students at Danny's house. So here's the difference. When Johnny and Danny were going back and forth, especially in season 1, and even a little bit in season 2, yeah, there were laws broken. Obviously, vandalism, theft, and those kinds of things. There were laws broken. But there were, ones that, especially in a cinematic sense, can be laughed off or played for laughs. That's just like ribbing and funny and hilarious and blah, blah, blah. Even when Danny kicks the boba tea out of his competitor's hand, that whole thing. Oh, yeah, I forgot. There's a lot packed in this season. Danny actually goes back to Okinawa because he's about to lose his deal with Diona, who gives them the Japanese cars. So he's about to go out of business, and then he has to go back and fight the guy from Karate Kid 3. Turns out that they both kind of have like similar roots and their senseis, and he learns a little bit more about Miyagi karate, and it's pretty cool because he learns a way to shut down their nerves so that they can't move. And as goofy as it looks to people who understand fighting, it does happen, right? We've seen it in MMA with the low leg kicks. When you kick someone in the right spot at the right time, especially in the lower leg, right? The foot just goes limp and you have no control over it anymore. It's not broken. It's not hurt permanently. There's no tendon damage. There's none of that. It's just you hit a nerve and now they have no control over it. It's completely limp. Those exist a lot in a lot of places on the body. They're just not common points that you would hit in an MMA fight. Well, and obviously it doesn't work in MMA. Otherwise, everybody would be doing it. Okay, we've known this for years, right? MMA is constantly evolving, and there's an ebb and flow. Right? We see that, wrestling's jiu-jitsu is the thing, and it's kind of taken over. And if you don't know jiu-jitsu, you're dead in there. And kickboxing and wrestling and all, like, being strong, being fast, like all these things kind of have played out over the past 30 years now, and we've distilled MMA down to not a perfect science by any means, because there's people that come in all the time and buck the trends. I mean, modern day MMA would tell you that you have to have a well-rounded game, otherwise you're going to fail. But there are exceptions to that rule. Damian Maia, late into his career, when he was way past his athletic prime, athletic with air quotes on that, was very effective with just jiu-jitsu. Striking was not great. Wrestling was okay, but it was really just about grabbing your opponent and getting him down to the ground. So, yes, that is, wrestling in its purest form. And he was good enough at that to get the wins late in his career. Stephen Thompson with the karate, very unorthodox for any other fighter in the UFC to stand like that, to hit like that, to strike like that, and to not do anything else. Does not play on the ground at all stand up. And we have, we've had really good boxers. Like, there's this whole debate now, like, who's the best boxer in the UFC? So it's constantly evolving and changing. But what we've seen is, if there was a devastating attack that was so effective that it could render your opponent useless regularly and with repetitively, right? And it can be done. We would have seen it already. Even the low leg kicks, which work sometimes, people do them a lot right now, and there's not that many times where that nerve goes. So, all of that context being said, is it possible to hit someone under their arm and make their arm go limp? Probably, yes. I would say you know what? Yeah, sure. Why not? I'm sure there's a place where you can hit it and they lose control of their arm for a little bit. Now, being able to hit that one and the other one and then their leg in that sequence every single time, especially with trained people, highly unlikely. But let's give them the benefit of the doubt. It's a little hokey, and especially because the end of the season kind of it kind of it doesn't coast. It's more like it's building up to this moment, this big fight at the end. And it's fantastic, by the way, because there's a lot of emotion. It's less about really cool, flashy techniques. It's more about emotion and the culmination of these storylines where Johnny goes to Crease because he finds out that Miguel was beaten up at Danny's house. And they fought back, too. They fought off Cobra Kai again. And Hawk changes sides and he comes back. He says he's sorry to Dimitri. It's really cool moments, too, because essentially what's happened now through 3 seasons, because it doesn't happen until the end of season 3. Through 3 seasons, we've taken Cobra Kai being misunderstood, bullied youth. We've taken them and made them bullies themselves. Then some of the good kids kind of drifted off because they whittled down to like the bulliest of bullies in Cobra Kai, to now where I would say a majority of those original nerds, the people being bullied, the outcasts from that school, from the society, right, have left Cobra Kai. And what do we have? We have the Cobra Kai of old again. John Crease is in charge. He brought in the bullies from season 1, and we just have assholes now. It's Cobra Kai is no longer fun. It's no longer funny. It's not, oh, hey, they're doing like they're kind of bullying people, but it's in like a fun way, and they're just playing it up, and they're still trying to defend the defenseless. That ended in season 2, but now it's completely gone. Like there's no good, because they showed with Miguel was still a part of Cobra Kai at the end of season 2. He did show mercy, so that was not like a Cobra Kai of old type of deal. Now it's all gone. 100% gone. It's complete garbage now. They're all garbage human beings. It's run by a garbage human being, and it's back to the classic evil karate dojo of the 80s. With all of that, John Crease is in there actually teaching Robbie, and Johnny Lawrence comes in to beat the shit out of Crease because he's like, I've had enough of this shit. Miguel just started walking again, and you sent your goons after him. Like, that's total bullshit. So he goes in, he starts beating the shit out of Crease. But at one point, he picks up a sai and he shows mercy, essentially, and doesn't kill Crease, which he could have multiple times. Then Robbie comes to defend Crease, and Johnny says, I'm not going to fight you. And he pushes him away pretty innocuously, and then Robbie goes flying into the corner of lockers and then falls down, and Johnny goes, shit. As far as child abuse goes, like that's nothing. That would be considered, roughhousing, as far as I'm concerned. Playing around with a kid and one of them gets hurt, whatever. That happens all the time. That was not vicious or malicious or anything like that. So he's beating the shit out of him. And then, obviously, Crease doesn't play that game. And he picks up the sai and he hits Johnny in the back with it and kind of knocks him out and incapacitates him. Then Danny shows up and says, like, you sent them to my house. Like, that's it. This is over. And John Crease says, I told you this was inevitable. They have a little fun fight. And then Danny does the nerve thing and puts him, he makes him so he can't fight, right? He takes away his weapons, right? So when those who refuse to stop waging war, you take away their ability to wage war, which is incapacitating them. So as far as like the 100% defense, Miyagi, karate, to this, I don't think it's a great leap. It doesn't change fundamentally how Danny approaches things. It's still a form of defense, and it's taking away your opponent's ability to hurt you. You're not trying to hurt your opponent, right? I think it's still a form of defense, in my opinion. And dude, the way the season ends, I think it ends on a huge high note. They say, hey, we're gonna end this. We're gonna solve this with the All Valley tournament, which is obviously coming in season 4. And we're going to see who wins. And if Cobra Kai wins, they get to stay, and the other guys have to shut down, and blah, 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 blah. So what do I make of this season compared to the first two? I already said it, a while ago. I think this is my favorite season. The tightest. It had the least amount of filler. It had great character development. The arcs, there wasn't such a large arc as there was in like season 1 and maybe season 2 as far as Danny and Johnny goes. And Miguel didn't really need an arc in this one. He's already been back to good Miguel. Robbie kind of has an arc, but he's always been kind of a shithead. He's never been doing any of this stuff for himself. It's always to get back at his dad, and his motivation has always been shitty. Let's see here. Who else? Oh, what's her face comes back. She's worse in this season. Poop. What's her name? The one who cuts Tori. So Tori, the one who cuts Sam with her bracelet thing, she's worse in this season than she was in season 2. In season 2, she was more believable. In this one, she's just outright evil, but she doesn't play it very well. I don't know if that's the acting or the directing, but she doesn't come across as genuine. It just seems like really forced. The fight scenes with them is also worse in this season somehow. So I don't know what happened there. All that being said, though, this is my favorite season. I think it ends the best, too. I think this has the best ending because it makes me want to watch season 4, and I'm really excited to see where they go from here. Whereas at the end of season 1, I felt like that was a completed arc, and it was fine, right? Yes, it can continue on, and it was meant to continue on, but it could have stayed the same as well, or it could have ended there and been fine as well. So season 1's my second, and then season 2 is my least favorite so far. So this one, honestly, I didn't hate watching any of it. It's 10 out of 10 for me. And I know I'm being probably generous, but it's really one of my favorite shows. I can't explain exactly why, because I know it's not the best show ever made. I know that. I know it's not, right? It's just, there's something about it. They have enough good moments that I don't remember. Like, I hardly remember any of the bad moments. And the message that they're always getting across, I think it's great. It's inspirational, and it's cheesy and inspirational the way a Rocky movie is, the way the original Karate Kid is. And if you have an affinity for those kinds of movies, this season like really hits the mark with that. It hits the tone. I think it did a great job, and I'm super excited to watch season 4. Now, again, I don't know. I don't think I ever released it. We did a prediction for season 3 after we watched season 2. And I was pretty much right on the money. I normally don't get those right. This one, I have less of an idea where they're going to go in season 4. Now, obviously, they're still going to have the All Valley. Instead of guessing where it's going to go, I'd say where I'd like it to go. Because Johnny and Danny are working together, it's the last scene of season. That's the other thing. The way it ends, they finally reconcile, and they don't like everything about each other, but that they understand that they can work together to take out Crease. So they're together training at Miyagi-Do Central, Miyagi's old house. What I want to see is less interplay with those two, okay? Johnny and Danny, as much as I love them, with their fun, with their anger between each other and their fighting back and forth. I think they're some of the best fights. I don't want them to fight in this season. I would love some interplay between them. I would love some genuine dislike and distrust, but also understanding and still fun ribbing back and forth. I want some of that. I would like the tournament to have actual consequences so that regardless of what happens, like if I had it my way, I'd probably make it so. See, I don't want Sam to win the tournament because I think that does nothing for her character arc. I don't think it goes anywhere as far as the story goes. She's probably, obviously. So she's probably going to fight Tori in the tournament at some point. And she's going to have flashbacks. And, probably Sam's going to win, just narratively speaking. Hawk's probably going to take on that bully, who's now a part of Cobra Kai, which will be great. But I wonder if it might be Tori and Sam in the finals, which I think would be stupid. Maybe everybody else gets disqualified somehow because they fight and they do dumb things, or they can't make it and they're injured. Maybe that's how we end that up. Oh, Robbie Keane. So that's right. Robbie's probably going to end up in the finals versus Miguel again. You know what? I wouldn't mind Robbie winning, as then Cobra Kai gets to stick around, and then we have to have some more interplay over the next season, which I'm hoping that there's at least season 5. I think we could probably get all the storylines out by season 5, and then maybe we have a 6th season to conclude and wrap it all up in a nice tight bow. But yeah, this season I would like to see a little bit of setup, a lot of conclusion. We need to conclude a lot from season 2 and season 3, because I feel like there's been a lot of unresolved storylines and issues, and those need to be resolved. So that has to happen early in season 4. Then later in season 4, I don't mind some setup for season 5. Maybe you could, like I said, keep Crease around for one more season. Then I say you get rid of him in the last season and have some reconciliation, and then maybe Johnny goes back to Cobra Kai by either the end of season 4. No, the end of season 5, and then season 6 is like a fun season. Or vice versa. Maybe that happens in season 4. Maybe Crease loses. Johnny goes back and gets to teach his own way. And maybe we conclude everything in the next season, season 5. Maybe that could work too. So I wouldn't mind any of those. All right, I'm going to keep this one short. There's no reason to go on anymore. Like I said, I forgot to say, I hope you guys all had a Merry Christmas or whatever holiday you celebrate around now. If you don't celebrate the holidays, I hope you enjoyed your time off of work. Hopefully you had some. Maybe you got together with your family and celebrated the solstice, which was 6 days ago. Maybe you did that. Whatever you do, if you don't have a celebration during the winter, that's also okay. Hope you had a great time, and I hope you are as excited for Cobra Kai Season 4 as I am. And leave your predictions down below. So let me know what you think is going to happen. I'm really bad at it. I'm bad at guessing, and I don't like putting my guesses out there because then I look like a total idiot. But leave your predictions down below. Let me know what you thought about Season 3. Let me know what you thought about Cobra Kai as a whole so far. Does it hold up to the Karate Kid mythos? Does it ruin it? Does it make it better? Right? Is it completely different in your eyes? Do you think that this one doesn't hold a candle to the original, or, this one stands on its own? Either way. I appreciate all the comments and all the liking and the subscribing and all that stuff. I really would. Appreciate you guys. Thank you so much for another year of this, sticking through and listening to me talk 50 times this year, something stupid. Means a lot to me. It really does. And I hope you guys all have a great New Year's, because I will be back after then. So enjoy your time with your family. Enjoy your time with yourself. Take some time off. Relax. Love y'all.